Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with us this morning. So we're going to be talking about how to automate your IFC exports from Revit using Ideate Automation. So first of all, very brief introduction for those people who don't know me. My name is Steve Deadman. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Ideate Software. I'm based down in Guildford in the UK. And my background has been in the construction industry for more years than I care to remember, actually, starting off in mechanical engineering, building services, and then moving through to construction, and then eventually architecture, where I was head of BIM at several leading UK architectural practices for many years before moving to Ideate Software as their customer success manager. With me on the call this morning is Nick Johns, our UK lead for Ideate Software. Nick, do you just want to say good morning?
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be on the call today. I'm just going to be supporting Steve in terms of looking for any questions or any comments that come through. We will leave some time at the end of this webinar for questions, but by all means, if you do think of anything, put it in the chat box and we'll refer to it at the end of Steve's presentation. So thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Nick. So yeah, and just a reminder, this session is being recorded, so you'll get access to this session at a later date. Of course, any questions or comments, please put them in the chat questions area, and we'll get to them at the end of this time. So very briefly, if you aren't aware of Ideate Software, we are an authorized Autodesk software developer, and we have been for many, many years. So in addition to our fabulous software tools, we have a great resource of online help. Videos, tips and tricks, blog posts, webinar recordings such as this. There's a whole host and whole library of information on our website at ideatesoftware.com. So you can head over there to get more information that you need. We have built-in getting started guides for each one of our applications, including Ideate Automation. So that's, again, another resource for you to refer back to. Our technical support team are on hand 24 hours a day, well, not quite 24 hours a day, but it seems like it, to field any of your support queries. So there's the email address there. You can always reach out to Nick and myself as well with any questions. So we support and update Ideate Software on the latest version of Revit, which is 2024, right back down to Revit 2020. So when we release updates and fixes, etc., that's supporting the latest version and the 4 previous versions. We have our earlier archives available for those people who are still using Revit 2019 and earlier. I hope you're not, but if you are, you can use Ideate Software right back to 2012. I think is the earliest archive we have available. So just a bit of information about the company. And then the solutions. So again, if you're not familiar with the tools, we provide built-in Revit solutions, plugins for Revit on a toolbar inside of Revit, and that's the 5 solutions there, which we call the bundle. And then there's a separate application which isn't included in the bundle, which is Ideate Automation, which was what we're going to be looking at today. So that's just an idea of the software and what we offer. So today, let's get on with today's session. So this morning, we're going to be looking at how you can automate those IFC exports from Revit using Ideate Automation. So creating these IFC files can take a long time, can be laborious and time consuming, and it frees up, it uses up a machine, etc., and staff to do it. So we'll learn how you can automate those processes. We will look at how you can control the setup and some of the various options that you have within Revit for creating your exports, and how you can tailor those using Ideate Automation. And then finally, you will look at how you can schedule the exporting of these IFC files. So once you've set up your setup, how can we schedule these to run out of business hours or on demand, however you want. So we're going to look at those areas today. So a brief introduction to what Ideate Automation is. Again, if you're not familiar with the solutions, is our first scripting solution that we developed. So this sits outside of Revit, it's not on the Revit toolbar. It's a separate programming solution that will run Revit tasks and also Revit tasks that use some of the Ideate software tools as well. So it's all about making your life easier, making things more automated and making you more productive and saving more and more time on some of your common tasks. So as I say, it's not included on the Ideate software ribbon. It's a separate desktop application. And again, like the other solutions we're supporting on Revit versions 24 right back down to 2020. So automation will run on any Revit files from any of those versions. So what are we talking about here? So let's look at some of the common tasks that you can run with Ideate Automation, so either with or without some of the other Ideate software solutions. So opening large files before you arrive at your desk. So this was a popular customer request which we've implemented in the last version. You can schedule now those Revit files to open whilst you're on your way to work or whilst you're having your breakfast, so that when you sit at your desk, the file will automatically be open for you. So some large models can take 20 minutes, half an hour to open. So why wasting time waiting for the file to upload when you can schedule it and get automation in Revit, get automation to run Revit for you and open that file. Exporting data out of your Revit models. Again, this is something that can take time and be particularly error prone, so why not use automation and with or without some of our other solutions to extract data from your models for quantity takeoffs, or whether it's checking your COBE information, or whether it's for getting project health metrics on your Revit files. That can all be automated as well. And then of course there's the deliverables. So in addition to IFC, you can use automation to schedule the production of PDFs, NWC files and DWG files as well. So this is all about, say, freeing up time and making it free of human error. So this is where Ideate Automation really has or can make a big difference to your workflows. So this is just some of the, going into a little bit more depth about some of the functions that we can use Ideate Automation for. So I mentioned the file open, and then there's obviously your exporting files. There's also an option to publish your models on BIM 360. Now this can be done at any time, so you're not limited to once a week like you currently are with the Revit Autodesk Publish. You can publish your files on demand. And then these scripts, these tasks below the green line here, these require our other Ideate software tools. These ones at the top don't need any of our other solutions. You can use automation to do all of this stuff. But if you're looking to extract data about styles or look at the Revit warnings, then you need one or other of our Ideate software solutions to complete some of those tasks. And then task scheduling, this is the important thing really to really get the benefit out of this tool. You know, the problem is you're taking up time exporting models, producing PDFs, etc. takes up time and makes users less productive. So why not schedule this by creating these tasks and scheduling them when you want to? That might be outside of business hours, that might be over lunch times or first thing in the morning, etc. And we'll look at how to set out these scheduled tasks a bit later on in the presentation. So let's look in more depth about exporting these IFCs. So the main problem with exporting IFCs is you have to manually open the projects and create IFCs for many projects. It might be one project, it might be 10 projects. If you're looking to do these weekly or daily or whatever, this can take a lot of time and a lot of hours to produce these files. So with Ideate Automation, we are eliminating that need to manually open Revit projects yourself. These tasks can be performed by automation, and you can schedule these to run when you want, particularly off hours, which is obviously the most productive way of using this solution. So you can set up these tasks to run at 5 o'clock in the morning. So when you come to work, the IFC files have been produced for you. You can just send them out, or whatever you need to do with them. So let's take a look, a bit of in-depth look at how you would use Ideate Automation to create these IFC exports. So if we look at the UI here, we have a number of scripts there on the left-hand side for general tasks, auditing, publishing, etc. So we're obviously looking at publishing because we're publishing our IFC export. We have a dedicated script specifically for exporting of the IFC files. So these are the variable settings that you can adjust and set up to create your tasks, and we'll go through each one of these in detail in just a second. So that's what you are setting up when you're creating these tasks. This is where you add your variables and options before creating these tasks. So first thing, select the file. So your Revit project, and these can be files which are saved locally on on-prem servers, or we can access files which are on BIM 360 or ACC. We can use both methods of run tasks on both files in both locations, and you can also set multiple files as well. So we're not limiting to one model. You can select multiple models. So it might be 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever it is. You can select multiple files to run concurrently to create those IFC models. And you can also create a list of projects. So if you are looking to create IFCs on a regular basis of a large number of projects, rather than selecting them manually, as I've shown in the previous slide, you can create a list of models and use that list to produce your IFC files. There's a number of ways of creating these tasks. Export locations, so this might be local on your machine, or we can save to BIM 360 ACC via your desktop connector, so you can save your IFCs in either of those locations. So the setup source, so this is where you're specifying the setup properties of your IFC. So we are giving you 3 options here. So there's an external setup in the form of an external JSON file, which saves your IFC export settings. You can use one of the built-in setups that ship with Revit, or you can use a project-specific setup that you've created within your Revit project. So you've got a choice of either one of those. So let's take a look at those in a bit more detail. So the external setup, so this uses an external JSON file. So this is a file that you create from the IFC export settings, and you can save this as a file which you can then be used across multiple projects and multiple users. Ideate Automation ships with a library JSON file there, which you can see, and this can be used for on Revit versions 20, 22, 23, and 24. If you want to create JSON files for use on Revit 2020 or 21, you would have to set those up manually yourselves, just because of the way that Revit handles the IFC and because of the changes across different versions. There are some changes that we can't build a script to cover all of those, or sorry, we can't build a JSON file to cover all of those at the moment. You can, of course, specify your own custom ones. If you want to create your own JSON file, you can create that and then use that file, use the browse to bring that into your setup. Built-in setup, so you can use any one of them, any variable export setups that ship with Revit via the IFC settings. So this will vary, again, depending on your Revit version. There are different IFC setups. So again, the list, what you see there might not be what you see when you are in Revit itself. And we've tried to highlight where some of these setups are only available in certain Revit versions. And then there's a project-specific setup. So you can, if you create your own setup within a Revit file, then you would manually type the name of that setup in the box there as shown. So this might be specific to a particular project, but these setups can be saved. You can even save these into your Revit templates. I've done that previously. But there's a note there, if you are creating multiple IFC files and you're using a custom setup like this, a project-specific setup, that setup has to exist in every single file that you're exporting. Otherwise, you'll throw some errors. That's just something to be aware of there. We recommend the JSON method as the most consistent way of creating these IFC files at the moment currently. Export view. So this is where you can specify an export view. So I think most people would create a specific view for their IFC exports with certain elements and objects turned off. So you can type the name of that view into that box there. If you leave it blank, then the IFC will be created from the default 3D view. That's how we're currently working on this. There is development plans to expand this option to include a view set. So if you're looking to export multiple IFC views from one model, that's something we're looking at to introducing within the next version. File name, that's just variables there. You can add and change this if you want to add something like the date, etc. You can change that variable within the file name to add those properties. And then finally, this box here is sometimes when you're creating these exports, additional files will get created, a text file, etc. If you check that box, then only the IFC file will be saved by the export. So when you complete the export, you'll only just see the IFC file at the end of the process. So that's looking at some of the setups. There are some additional settings which are accessible via the tiny plus symbol you can see in the top right of the UI there. This gives you options to whether you want to open or close the work sets before creating your IFC file, or whether you want to add further subfolders for your location of your export file. So there's a couple of additional options that we're giving you via that little option there. So let's look at a little example. So I'm selecting my IFC export script. I'm going to choose a Revit model. This one is in 2024 and it's on the construction cloud. That's my model. I can choose a export location. So this is just the local location that I've got here. I'm using the external setup with our shipping JSON file. I'm going to leave that option blank for the moment, and I'm going to leave the other options as they are. So once you set up the task, you can select next and then save and run. I've sped this up in the interest of this presentation, but you can see automation is opening Revit. It's creating that IFC file, and it will then save the file in my project folder location, and then closes Revit afterwards and after it's completed. So you can see it's completed. That took 1.5 minutes, but as I say, I've just sped that up a little bit for you there. So we can see now from there's the folder, there's my folder the file that I've just produced. I'm using Celebri Anywhere to check my IFC output, and there you can see my IFC file has been created as I would expect. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So once your setup has been defined and correct, you can then set those tasks up to run. And then the next thing is creating those scheduled tasks. So now I've created my I've just completed my IFC export, as you saw on the previous slide. Now I'm going to schedule this task to run when I want. So I'm going to put in the description there. I can select the frequency, so whether it's one time, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. I can specify a date. I want that to start tomorrow, and I want that to start at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's going to be once a week, every Friday. So once that's saved, that task will run. As long as my machine is powered on, that task will run until such time that I tell it to stop, or I delete or pause that task. So we're using the Windows Task Scheduler to run these tasks. This interface is just an easier way of getting to that information, and you can configure the Windows Task Scheduler yourself. But that's obviously beyond the scope of this presentation. But there are certain things that you can change around those tasks and how these tasks will run. So that is fairly straightforward. So just a quick look and a few tips on some of the settings within Revit. So these are the IFC export settings that you will find within your Revit version. Again, these will vary depending on your version of Revit because they've changed the UI. There's additional properties that become available as they've developed these exports. So this is currently what so it will differ from version to version. So looking at the additional content, so we would always recommend that you have the export only elements visible in view box checked as part of your setup. That will ensure that you will only the elements in the view will be exported. So if you're an architect, you want to turn off the furniture, for example, you don't need to export that to IFC, or you've got some site work, the site objects or planting visible. Those are the kinds of things you can you would like turned off. So by checking that box, you will always guarantee that only the elements that are in the view that you're exporting from will be converted to IFC. And the location settings, and I can remember testing this years ago, you'd export an IFC file from Revit, and then you'd try and link that same IFC file back into Revit using shared coordinates, and it never worked. Well, pleased to say it does now work. Done extensive testing on this, and so this is much improved and works much better. You can even use, if you have more than one project site, for example, there are now options to include the internal site and new sites, which work well as well. So that's the locations, which used to be a problem, the geolocations of IFC files, and now that's all seems to have been improved, which is really good. So you can create your own IFC export setups, either by duplicating one of the existing ones or by creating your own from scratch. And you can create your own setups. These are the ones, once saved, you can then use these within Ideate Automation to create your IFC files. And as I said, you can even save these into Revit templates, which is what I have done previously in previous roles. And then creating your own JSON file. So we say we recommend the JSON file to produce your IFC files. This is just exporting those setups. You can export these to a saved location, and it creates the JSON file, which you can then import back in another time or use within Ideate Automation also. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you've set up everything within the UI, you can export those settings out, save them, and then to be used on other projects or with other users. So just a couple of sort of known issues currently. So currently we are not supporting exporting of linked files as separate IFCs within Ideate Automation. This is on our roadmap to include in future versions. So if you have a model with several links exported in it, currently Automation will only export the main model. If you need the linked files exported into IFC as well, we just recommend you create those individually, but you could create those as one task. So there is a workaround around that one. Then further within the Revit 2024, there's further options within the linked files on the IFC export setup. So these are the exporting same IFC project and exporting same IFC sites. And there's a known issue with Autodesk. They know about this. We raised it with them. That currently doesn't work either. So those couple of things to bear in mind. So just a couple of known issues there to make you aware of once you start using Ideate Automation for your IFC exports. Just a quick word about Ideate Automation. So this is included within our enterprise bundles, and it can be added to your current subscription for a fee. Obviously, speak to Nick about that. And we offer 30-day trials from the website, so it's fully functional. You can start using it straight away, start testing this out for 30 days as well. Extensive help on the help page on the Ideate Software website. We're doing a lot of work on our help files and trying to provide as much support as we can online. So we have a dedicated page for Ideate Automation, which has getting started guides and how-to guides and varying other things there. So there's lots and lots of information on the website page to help you. So that is everything. Thank you very much for your attendance this morning. Obviously, you can find us online and follow us on our social media channels. Just wanted to